states. We know the Pentagon's new main role domestically is that. That's over the top insane. Then Jade Helm comes along. We just say this should be watched. It lists these states as hostile. The John Warner Defense Authorization Act admits the military is preparing to put down legislative rebellions or to take out governors. That's in the news. We should watch this. They misrepresent, say that we say it's an imminent takeover. It's now one of the biggest stories of the last month. It just gets bigger and bigger. They're calling it a firestorm. But it's admitted that the Pentagon is tracking everything we do, putting it into this Internet of Things, this map that tracks the whole world, and that creates a file on every American, and then files on regions and sub-regions of the country. And that's what David Knight and, of course, Rob Dew are here to talk about. We may have to do some overdrive today to get into all this. But, gentlemen, where should we start here?
Well, there's a ton of stuff on here. I think we should start with the C-SPAN clip. We broke that down a couple days ago, The Sleeping Giant Awakens on live TV. And there's one of the questions, someone calls in to talk to the colonel, who is head of the Asymmetrical Warfare Group. He's the commander of this, Colonel John Potosik. They say, hey, why don't you tell us about Jade Helm? We think it's a cool little exercise. You know, I know she was trying to bait the guy into an argument. He looks over. You see him look off screen, shake his head, and goes, I don't know anything about that. I mean, it's an amazing clip, and this was on C-SPAN Live.
And he's at Fort A.P. Hill, where Biggs and I were about a year ago.
He's in Fort A.P. Hill. They're doing the interview.
He knows all about it, but he knows nothing.
He knows nothing.
He's like a leading expert, but he knows nothing.
Well, he does the Sergeant Schultz defense, and I explained that in the clip. So let's go to that clip real quick.
Morning, Colonel. I wanted to alert our citizens and to get an explanation, if we could, for an exciting military training called Jade Helm 15, which is all over the Internet. I guess it involves 10 states, and there's going to be civilians participating in
Didn't he have you detained?
towns like Big Spring, Texas.
Yeah, this is the guy.
He said you in jail.
Explain the magnitude of that and what the purpose of that is, and apparently you're going to have crisis actors, and they're going to be soldiers dressed in uniform and not in uniform, and apparently it's very exciting. Could you explain that to us? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, it's not something that I'm familiar with, so I can't really explain that. But I do know
you know he's got a civilian handler right there.
Those types of things are things that we do here, where we get our soldiers the opportunity to work within an environment where there are civilians and soldiers. As a matter of fact, one of the things I could talk about is that, unfortunately, I just don't know about that particular exercise.
I see nothing. I know nothing.
The Army's plan for a multi-state training exercise this summer called Jade Helm 15. While the military says it's just training soldiers for the realities of war, critics say the Army is preparing for modern-day martial law.
Some are calling it a Texas takeover. What's happening is between July and September, a bunch of Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and Special Ops from the Air Force and Marines are conducting some realistic training exercises across the Southwest, including 17 different Texas cities.
Again, I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with that exercise.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here.
And that was a month ago.
I did not even get up this morning.
Yeah, he just said this a few days ago, and it's just been on every channel in the country. Now, let's stop. He even knew who you guys were when he had you detained.
Oh, yeah.
So this is just asinine.
Yeah.
Now, expanding on this, we're getting into part 2 of a video that's up on Infowars.com. Proof, Pentagon mapping U.S. for domestic insurgents, including libertarians, constitutionalists, and patriots. And what we're getting into is an event that's been happening for about 8 years. We've got some C-SPAN clips from 5 years ago. It's dominating the human domain analytics, and we get this from Trajectory Magazine. So you've got to go into the different Pentagon publications, the different trade publications to find this directly from them, what they're actually doing.
You know, Alex, when we look at this and we saw this, it's like, okay, here it comes again. We've been talking about all these different aspects of it. This is another exercise. It's bigger. They're increasing the scope. They're increasing the frequency. We were all surprised, I think, to see how this picked up, how Jade Helm picked up. But I think the thing is it's like the Snowden files. When you see the documents, when you see the slides, it hits with people. And they see this map.
That's what Louis Gohmert said. He said, I was in the Army as an officer. This is scary.
We never did this.
And
he goes, I'm concerned about martial law.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, because what this is about, this is when they say mastering the human domain, when you look at that logo, human domain is a term of art of the military, just like unconventional warfare, just like asymmetric warfare.
It means the entire ecosystem, everybody.
Exactly.
It means slavery.
They are getting all this information about you as an individual and as different groups, and they are mapping it onto a geographic layer.
It's full spectrum dominance.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's the logo right there, Master of the Human Domain, and the conference.
And notice it's the same They call it Mastering the Human Domain, and that's the name of these programs. So we were just searching what they meant by that. This, they admit, is for domestic activity. So we got them. It is domestic.
And
totally is.
when you look at these conferences,
boom, we have them.
Alex, when you look at these conferences, when you look at the history, they tie it intimately in with law enforcement.
So you guys went back and looked at what is Mastering the Human Domain. You've got all the Pentagon briefings where they admit it's tracking everything we do. It's for us.
These GEOINT conferences, they've got James Clapper, the NSA, the Homeland Security of there, U.S. Geological Service. This is domestic. It is melded with law enforcement.
It's the Rural Affairs Committee.
It's as much, it's as much intel operation as it is a military operation.
That's what I'm saying. This is to test the locals. This is for the rollout.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is using Facebook, Twitter, anything you put out online, they're using that, collecting that data and going, well, this is out of the ordinary. We got to go to investigate.
And see, we're going to force a debate about this Manhattan Project happening beneath the surface. They don't want us to unveil it before it's ready.
Yes. It's ridiculously big. When we come back, we got some more clips. It's just going to blow your mind.
So what do we call this special report? Confirmed Jade Helm is for domestic operations against American people, at least in part.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have them. It's about mastering America. RT reports climate change is a UN-led hoax to create New World Order. That's the Australian Prime Minister and his advisors. I mean, it's just all coming out. The dam's breaking, and so the globalists are scrambling, hoping they can train our military to take us on. Here's what's happening. We're going to do 30 minutes of Overdrive today. Some stations carry the 4th hour. Years ago, I did the 4th hour live. A lot of stations don't. Infowars.com/show. I'm going to go till 5 after, but we're just going to continue with these guys because Dew wanted to get some of the clips off and get ready, and it was about 10 minutes late. So they're going to do a whole presentation on this coming up. But he's got clip after clip from these dominating the human environment analytics, and that's the Jade Helm logo. And then we find the same players. This is for America. And it's for the globe as well, but it's for mapping everything, taking over local towns, knowing which towns are ready to do it, who isn't. It's for civil war. Again, it has dual use as well. Any training does, but it's confirmed. This is a big deal. Jade Helm confirmed for domestic operations, but it's not the takeover. They're misrepresenting. And again, they use this as a war game now to see if they can lie to people.
Yes,
I think the whole thing's a psyop. Like we're in the midst.
We're
of
now
it right
playing.
Now.
We're already in
a role with it.
Unfortunately, But by putting it out there, letting people know about it, they're seeing the reaction.
And David's got a ton to cover. I'll be out of here soon. He'll get to all of it. But get to the next clip. What do you have, dude?
Yeah. So they had this 2010 Mastering the Human Domain conference. The next year, the open of the 2011 kind of shows everything that they've been talking about and that they've been working on for a year. So I want to play that, and then we'll go back and show the other clips that kind of, it's like watching paint dry, but we'll get to it.
This is a who's who, the FEMA head, Clapper, NSA, top generals.
It's the military
Homeland Security,
complex.
as well as
this is them coordinating what Eisenhower warned us of, just like a third world country gets taken over by its military, but this is the bureaucracy using it for that. We just want to debate the fact that we're already in the middle of the takeover. Here it is.
The threats that we face don't recognize boundaries. Whether those are physical boundaries or organizational boundaries,
that's right. There's no boundaries to
agency boundaries. And every time we're inhibited in our response to those threats,
so that's
by
Middle
our own
East,
boundaries,
obviously, but they're going to start
we've
showing
lessened our impact.
America.
And when we lessen our impact, we lessen our services to those decision makers, and we ultimately affect our national security in a negative way.
The consequence to the nation if we don't integrate intelligence,
and they get the training manuals. It's all for the veterans and gun owners.
We will miss things.
And then TV says it's for us.
We won't deliver the best possible solution set to our mission partners, whether that's the policymaker, the warfighter, or the first responder.
This type of warfare today, the
first
types
responder,
of
the
threats
military,
that we face require rapid assimilation of information, rapid
drones,
understanding and situational awareness, rapid.
Remember the Homeland Security video that showed them taking out gun owners in America?
Intelligence, it's like fighting with both hands tied behind your back.
Oh, don't tie her hands.
Over your eyes. It's uncertainty.
And they put all these Obamanoids in now?
It's delayed decisions. It's
the people that didn't go along with it.
It's a bunch of social workers now with general outfits.
Look, you are most likely
the U.S.,
to recognize the content, the substance, the early warning, the value of information.
Hey, remember the ad in Pennsylvania to pay your taxes was just like
same thing, yeah.
That you understand.
Well, they have Lockheed ads now where it shows them scanning U.S. cities.
Lockheed helped make this.
The question, you understand the needs, potential threats, and you're putting that information together in a way.
But notice that it wasn't all this that stopped those guys up in Dallas and Garland.
It was the one guy with a gun.
he used his own HUMET to say, I bet this is a target. Yeah. So an off-duty cop went and hung out front.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed that at the end, they were showing the different layers. That is what they're building. They're building different layers of information. Like, this is a friendly area.
Right. Give us a preview of what's coming up in the next 30 minutes. You guys can do a whole hour if you want to.
Well, we might be able to. We got pretty long.
All right, that's it. No, I'm committing.
Let's do it.
You're doing a whole hour of Overdrive. Tweet it out. A whole hour of Overdrive. Jade Helm confirmed to be domestic. I want you to cover and finish it up in the next 5, then restart and do a whole treatise over the next 55 minutes, okay?
All right.
And let David talk.
Well, there's a huge aspect of this, Alex, that is also predictive, because we're seeing that in law enforcement as well. When they say that the genesis of this came from 3 different inputs. One of them was the military in Iraq. The other is American law enforcement. And the third one was casinos in Nevada.
That's right. It's all human control. We'll be right back. Stay with us in 70 seconds.
Alex Jones.